Chandra, Jai Gaura Bhakta.
जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैता चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैता चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा
Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jai Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
जय जय श्री चैतन्य जय नित्यानंदा जय अद्वैता चंद्र जय गौर भक्त वृंदा
Someone please read.
Okay, if no one's reading, I'll read.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It is a fact, therefore, that sense gratification is the central principle of materialistic life, whether based on the Vedas or simply on common human activities. There are three divisions of the Vedas. The first division, the Karma Kand, recommends fruitive activities by which people can advance to higher planets. Above this is the Upasana Kand, which recommends worship of the various demigods for the purpose of attaining their planets. Finally, there is the Jnana Kand, which recommends activities that enable one to reach the absolute truth and realize his impersonal feature in order to become one with him. But the impersonal aspect of the absolute truth is not the last word. Above the impersonal feature is the Paramatma or Supersoul, and above that is the personal aspect of the absolute truth. Srimad Bhagavatam gives information about the personal qualities of the absolute truth beyond the impersonal aspect. Topics concerning these qualities are greater than topics of impersonal philosophical speculation. Consequently, Srimad Bhagavatam is given higher status than the Jnana division of the Vedas. Srimad Bhagavatam is also greater than the Karma and Upasana divisions because it recommends the worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, the Divine Son of Vasudeva. The Karma division of the Vedas is fraught with competition to reach heavenly planets for better sense gratification, and this competition is also seen in the Gyan and Upasana divisions. Srimad Bhagavatam is above all of these because it aims only at the supreme truth, the substance or root of all categories.
So, here Lord Chaitanya is explaining that Vedas are based mainly, major portion of Vedas is how to engage in sense gratification by being religious, by being pious. Okay, being pious or religious, but the goal is enjoy more because get more opulence, get more um, good like some circumstances which is conducive to enjoyment. So karma kan, doing the karma in such a way that can go to higher planets, means doing some activities, doing the duties in a way by which can reach the higher planets. Then Upasana kind is worship of demigods, also to go to the higher planets. And then, so here karma kind is that you do the karma, duties, activities in a way that can get pious results, and with that pious results can go to higher planets. Then Upasana kind is worship the demigods. Krishna says, no, whoever you worship, you go there. So you worship the demigods, you go to their planets. And then Gyan Kand is for the purpose of understanding the absolute truth. But because it's a very, very vague understanding, very preliminary understanding. So the understanding is just limited to realize him as the Brahmajyoti, as the light, and to become the absolute truth. But that is like a very faint realization. But the more we understand God, the more we understand the absolute truth, then we understand, oh, light is just coming from his body. Above him is the Paramatma. He is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, in every atom of the universe as Paramatma. And then we do further understand the absolute truth, and then understanding, absolute truth is a person. So the more study one does, the more one becomes expert in that subject matter, no? Like if somebody is in 10th grade, their knowledge of math, they of course have knowledge of math, but that knowledge is going to be lesser than someone who's done masters. And someone who's done masters, their knowledge is going to be lesser than one who's done PhD. So the PhD will have more understanding of math because he spent so much time into it. Similarly, one who takes time to understand the absolute truth will come to understand that God is a person. And Srimad Bhagavatam gives us immediately, first canto, first verse, first chapter, that offer obeisances, engage in devotional service to the Supreme Lord Krishna. It's all Krishna Katha in Bhagavatam. There's no section of Bhagavatam which is dealing with Karma Kand or Gyan Kand or Pasna Kand. There's nothing of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's pure nectarian Krishna Katha. And by hearing Bhagavatam, gradually, the influence of mode of passion and ignorance which is in our heart gets wiped out, and we can be situated in the mode of goodness, and we continue hearing, and then continue hearing Bhagavatam, continue hearing Krishna Katha, and one can transcend the modes, be situated on the liberated platform, because this is the effect of pure Krishna Katha. So that's why
to do with bhakti yoga, bhakti kant.
Bhakti Yoga, yeah. Bhagavatam is bhakti, yeah, devotional service. Yes. Only devotional service. Nothing else. Speaking about devotees, the Lord, his expansions, his incarnations, devotional service. That's why it's called the Amala Puran, Bhagavatam.
In other words, from Srimad Bhagavatam, we can know the substance as well as the relativities in their true sense and perspective. The substance is the absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead, and the relativities are the different forms of energy which emanate from Him. Since the living entities are also His energies, there is nothing really different from the substance. At the same time, the energies are different from the substance. This conception is not self contradictory. Srimad Bhagavatam explicitly deals with this simultaneously, one and different philosophy, a philosophy also found in the Vedanta Sutra, which begins with the Janmadi Asya Sutra.
Janmadi Asya Sutra. So let's read on about this Achintya Bheda Abheda, knowledge of simultaneous one and different.
Knowledge of the simultaneously one and different nature of the absolute truth has been imparted for the well being of everyone. Mental speculators mislead people by trying to establish the energy of the Lord as absolute. But when the truth of simultaneous oneness and difference is understood, that truth is more pleasing than the imperfect concepts of monism and dualism. By understanding the Lord's simultaneous oneness with and difference from his creation, one can immediately attain freedom from the threefold miseries inflicted by the body and mind, by other living entities, and by acts of nature over which we have no control.
So this Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva Lord Chaitanya is explaining. And once we understand it, that's liberation. We want to get liberated, so we need to understand what is this simultaneous one and difference. We have to realize it. We are thinking, I'm God, I'm right now I'm not God, but after I get liberated, I will become one with God. I will merge into Him. I'm going to become Him. As they say, right? What? 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 Sometimes some words are said. मैं Krishna में लीन हो जाऊंगे, something like that, no?
Mm.
Right? But then that is imperfect. It's because the soul knows it's imperfect, there's always going to be that the soul is not going to be satisfied with that answer. Why? Because it's not the real answer. The real answer, we deep down subconsciously, we know we are eternal parts and parcels of Krishna. And once that's the reason, the more we understand the philosophy of Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Gita, the more clearer it becomes, the more pleased we become, the more peaceful we become, the more we get knowledge, simultaneous one with and different. We are Krishna's energy. That's how we are simultaneous one with him and yet different from him. We are not Krishna, but we are Krishna's energy. We have Krishna's qualities, but to a very minute degree. So people say, oh, everyone is Krishna. No, everyone is part and parcel of Krishna. Everyone is part and parcel of Krishna.
Srimad Bhagavatam begins with the surrender of the living entity to the Absolute Person. This surrender is made with full awareness of the devotee's oneness with the Absolute Person and at the same time his eternal position of servitorship toward him. In the material conception, one falsely thinks himself the Lord of all he surveys. Consequently, he is always troubled by the threefold miseries of life. But as soon as one comes to know his real position in transcendental service, he at once becomes freed from all the above mentioned threefold miseries. The position of servitor is wasted in the material conception of life. In an attempt to dominate material nature, the living entity is forced to offer his service to the relative material energy. When this service is transferred to the Lord in pure consciousness of spiritual identity, the living entity at once becomes free from the encumbrances of material affliction.
So Bhagavad Gita ends with this knowledge, surrender unto me, Krishna says, and Bhagavatam begins with this, that the living entity has understood and he surrendered. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. He's saying, I'm offering my obeisances unto the Lord. Means he's showing subordination. Otherwise, why would he pay obeisances? We pay obeisances to someone who's superior. And and the devotee is calling him Bhagavate, the Supreme Lord, Vasudeva. So he's understanding his eternal position of servitorship to Krishna. Simultaneous one, understanding I'm also spiritual. I'm also Satchidananda. That is the oneness. And difference, I'm not God, but I'm servant of God. in what is our that is spiritual life. Our material life, what we are thinking, I'm God, I'm the controller. I can control everything and everyone. And because of that, we are bound by these laws of material world, threefold miseries, the karshati. What is the struggle? Because we are not God, but we are trying, we are behaving in a way that we are God. We try to control, to own, but it's not possible for us. So then we struggle. That struggle is karshati. It gives us miseries. But as soon as we realize, I am eternal servant of Krishna. Let me engage in service of Krishna. Once we realize that, that is liberation. And then the real life begins from the point of liberation. Pure devotional service begins. What we are doing, we are wasting our servitorship because we are serving no matter what, We say we are controller, but actually what we do is we serve. We are serving our whoever, our relatives, our bosses, our employees, employers, family, lovers, children, parents, serving the material nature, serving the modes of nature, as the
So
modes
we are serving
dictate.
ourselves to material gratification.
Yeah,
Right?
serving ourselves to this material gratification. Yes, that's how we are serving the modes, no? The modes dictate to us and we succumb to them and we follow the orders of the modes. So this service attitude of ours is being wasted. And the real utility of the service attitude that we have is we should serve Krishna. And then that is spiritual life. That's liberation.
As you say, no, that servitorship, it is there, this nature, it is there in us, but we are just serving wrongly, right?
Yes. Yes, we don't want to accept that, oh, I'm actually serving. We are thinking, no, I'm not serving, I'm controlling. And that's why we struggle. And that's why we don't want to serve Krishna. Yeah.
Over and above this, Srimad Bhagavatam is the personal commentary on the Vedanta Sutra by Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in spiritual realization. He was able to write it by the mercy of Narad. Srila Vyasadeva is an incarnation of Narayan, the personality of Godhead. Therefore, there is no question about his authority, although he is the author of all Vedic literature. He specifically recommends the study of Srimad Bhagavatam above all other books. In other Puranas, various methods for worshipping demigods are mentioned, but in Srimad Bhagavatam, only worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is mentioned. The Supreme Lord is the whole body, and the demigods are different parts of that body. Thus, one who worships the Supreme Lord need not worship the demigods, for the Supreme Lord is at once fixed in one's heart. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu distinguished Srimad Bhagavatam from all other Puranas by recommending it as the spotless Purana.
Yeah. Srimad Bhagavatam is called Amala Puran. There are 18 Puranas. 18. Dealing with the 6 with the mode of goodness, 6 with mode of passion, 6 with mode of ignorance. And all are compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. He wrote the Vedas, he compiled the Vedas, then he separated the Vedas into 4. Then he wrote the Puranas to explain the Vedas. Then he wrote the Vedanta Sutra. All so much he did, but he was dissatisfied. Narad Muni told him, you write about devotional service. You have not done that. You have not glorified the Lord and his devotional service. So you write that. So in his maturity, Srila Vyasadeva wrote the Bhagavatam, in his spiritual maturity. So, as we get more and more refined, as an artist, when he paints, the more he paints, the more refined he will get. So Bhagavatam is his best work. It's a spotless Amala Puran, only speaking of devotional service to the Lord and his devotees. Because here it's also mentioned that, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, so means all this Padma Puran, Brahma Puran, all is written by him, huh? Sri Vyasadeva.
Yes.
Linga Puran. Varaha.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Vyasadeva. And he is able to do it because he's a Shaktiavesh avatar. He's specifically empowered to do it. Also, Mahabharata was recorded by him. So, yeah.
The transcendental message is received through the ears by the method of submissive hearing. A challenging attitude cannot help one receive or realize the transcendental message. Therefore, in the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the word shushrushu is used. This word indicates that one should be eager to hear the transcendental message. The desire to hear with interest is the primary qualification for assimilating transcendental knowledge.
Yeah, eagerness to hear. We should somehow or the other have this eagerness.
Eagerness and with submissive. Right?
Submissive. Yeah. Submissive and eagerness.
Unfortunately, few people are interested in patiently hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. The process is simple, but the application is difficult. Those who are unfortunate will find time to hear ordinary social and political topics and all sorts of idle talks. But when they are invited to join an assembly of devotees to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, they are reluctant to attend, or they will indulge in hearing portions of Srimad Bhagavatam they are unfit to hear. Professional reciters of the Bhagavatam indulge in reciting the portions dealing with the confidential pastimes of the Supreme Lord. These portions appear to be sex literature. Srimad Bhagavatam is meant to be heard from the beginning, and those who are fit to assimilate the messages of Bhagavatam are mentioned in the very beginning as Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2. The bona fide audience fit to hear Srimad Bhagavatam consists of those who have performed many pious deeds, but any intelligent person, by thoughtful discretion can come to believe in the assurances of the great sage Vyasadeva and patiently hear the messages of Srimad Bhagavatam in order to realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead directly. One need not struggle through the different Vedic stages of realization, for one can quickly be lifted to the position of Parahams simply by agreeing to patiently hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. The sages of Naimisharanya told Sut Goswami that they intensely desired to understand Srimad Bhagavatam. They were hearing from Sut Goswami about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they were never satiated by these discussions. People who are really attached to Krishna never stop wanting to hear more and more about him.
The eagerness to hear Bhagavatam. Eagerness. And what Srila Prabhupada is saying that, we have desire to hear so many other topics, but Bhagavatam, very few people can hear, and means they have so much piety to be able to hear Bhagavatam. It's not an ordinary thing. It's not ordinary as we are hearing that one who is hearing Bhagavatam, they have performed many pious deeds to be able to hear Bhagavatam. We take Bhagavatam very lightly, not able to understand the glories of Bhagavatam. But just by hearing Bhagavatam, we can come to the Paramhamsa stage, as said. Can get liberation by patiently, eagerly trying to understand and applying the message of Bhagavatam. Thoughtful discretion. We don't need to adopt other processes. We simply need to apply what we are hearing in Bhagavatam. And by that application, we can come to the liberated platform, to the pure devotional platform, get pure devotion. And Bhagavatam needs to be heard, of course, from first canto, not just jumping straight to the 10th canto. And that's the reason Bhagavatam should always be heard from the devotees, not from professional reciters. There are many professional reciters who hold the readings of Bhagavatam, but that's not really the way to hear Bhagavatam. So we'll read this paragraph, then we can stop.
Lord Chaitanya therefore advised Prakāśānanda Saraswati, always read Srimad Bhagavatam and try to understand each and every verse. Then you will actually understand the Brahma Sutra. You say that you are very eager to study the Vedanta Sutra, but you cannot understand the Vedanta Sutra without
Understanding.
without understanding Srimad Bhagavatam. He also advised Prakāśānanda Saraswati to always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. By doing this, you will very easily be liberated. After liberation, you will be eligible to achieve the highest goal of life, love of Godhead.
So Lord Chaitanya is encouraging Prakāśānanda Saraswati. He's saying you like to study Vedanta Sutra, but first you understand the explanation of Vedanta Sutra. That is the Srimad Bhagavatam. And study it. And after studying Bhagavatam, you'll be able to understand Vedanta Sutra. And also Lord Chaitanya is initiating him into chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And by studying Bhagavatam and chanting Hare Krishna, Lord Chaitanya is saying one can very easily be liberated. And then still continue hearing and chanting. After liberation, achieve Krishna Prema. Prema Pumartha Mahan, highest goal of life, love of Godhead. So we continue hearing and chanting. Did anyone want to add anything? Any comments?
So Prakāśānanda Saraswati is his disciple, Lord Chaitanya's.
Now he's become his disciple. He was the leader of the sannyasis of Banaras.
Oh, okay.
He was the leader of all those sannyasis. But now Chaitanya is initiating him into chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, is giving him instructions to.
So you mean he was an impersonalist, is it?
That's right.
Okay. I think was that the one we read few last week or something? Is it about him?
Yeah,
okay.
Same. We are continuing to read about him.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much everyone for